going next week.
Yeah, I get that, but why did you have to book such an impromptu flight so far away?
I want to travel. You knew that I like to go travelling.
Fine. Go travelling, go find some guy whilst you're out there. I don't give a shit anymore.
Okay, we need to talk about this because this is important, okay? Ladies, if you're thinking of solo traveling, my advice to you is just freaking do it. Yes, I was in a relationship when I went to Thailand. No, they were not correlational. The breakup was just an accumulation of little things over time. But with this question, I just want to hit home one point, okay? Solo traveling as a woman is the most empowering thing you can possibly do for yourself. When you go to a different country, wherever you end up, you navigate situations that you didn't think you could ever handle. And then you come home and you're like, I just did that. So I can do anything I want to here.
Yikes. It tells a lot about how they actually perceive themselves. She's like shocked that she's competent enough and capable enough and mature enough and grown enough to be able to travel alone. This is why we get Schrodinger's feminism. This is why on one hand, on the surface, consciously, it's all about how they're equal to men, they're so strong, they're so independent. But then also, they're like shocked when they're able to do things on their own. I believe a lot of them actually infantilize themselves and perceive themselves a lot different. I think they overcompensate with a lot of these things that they say because internally they know that's not really the case. A lot of times, if a woman changes attire, there was a video a couple days ago, this woman who had divorced her husband, and then she made a video and she was saying how she was so impressed with herself because she did it all on her own. She was, and a lot of times when these women will pay their own car note, pay their own rent, you'll often hear them bragging about this and talking about how truly remarkable it is that they've been able to do this all on their own. So this is why you get the two ends there. You get the I'm a boss babe, I'm super empowered and independent, and then you also get the I'm a woman, treat me differently, give me special treatment, give me female privilege.
So that's number one, okay? And number two, especially if you're in a relationship, it is the most empowering thing you can do as a partner, to go and figure out what makes you happy and how to be happy on your own. If your partner doesn't want that for you, and if they're not supporting that, then they're not the right person.
That's so stupid. If your partner, so gay, if your boyfriend or your man doesn't support that, he might be concerned about your safety. I swear to God, these women will apply they'll actually be scared of their safety in all the wrong situations. They'll be in America, the country they were born and raised, being concerned about some predator coming along. But when it comes to traveling thousands of miles away from their family and friends alone in these strange third world countries, it's empowering. And if your boyfriend has an issue, he's not the one for you. I swear to God, zero survival instinct in a lot of these chicks, man.
Go travelling, go find some guy whilst you're out there.
Look, I'm going next week.
Yeah, I get that, but why did you have to book such an impromptu flight so far away?
I want to travel.
Yeah, you always say you want to travel, but why don't you want to travel more locally, something that we can go on together?
Travel more locally.
Look, man, a lot of these young women that are really, really obsessed with traveling, and there's a lot of them, and again, young women, these younger women who are like still teenagers or in their early 20s, I've noticed these types of women who are really, really obsessed with this idea of travel are running from something. And a lot of times they're quite depressed, quite anxious, and again, they're running from something. Whatever it is, I don't know, but the problem is you're going to go and then you're going to come back and it's going to be the same. Nothing will have changed. Traveling is great, okay? It's cool. I've done some of it myself. But there are some people out there who are really, really obsessed with this idea of traveling. And again, I'm talking about the younger ones. As you get older, you get closer to retirement, this kind of starts to make more sense to me. You want to go and travel and do the things you haven't been able to do as you get older. But young, very, very young people who get really infatuated with seeing the world, they're obviously running from something. I think a lot of them don't like their career, or they're feeling sort of uncertain about things. And I believe a lot of them are quite depressed and they have anxiety. So they're running from something. It's kind of weird to me when really young women, and I say young women because I haven't really met that many young men who are really obsessed with travel, but I would say the same thing would probably be the case, is they also are running from something. And again, the problem is you're going to come back and nothing will have changed. It's going to be the same place you left in the first place. Traveling, I think a lot of people believe it is this solution to all of their problems, and specifically a lot of these young women.
Traveled locally. I want to travel, the whole world.
Not with me. Like, I'm not seeing shit around here. Why don't you could be like a guide and stuff. We could have like an adventure together. It doesn't always have to be so far away.
Yeah, but I want to travel the world, and I've asked you to come with me.
Like, isn't it kind of childish as well? I don't know. Like, I want to travel the world. It's kind of, I don't know. For some reason, it comes off kind of like childish. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm overcritical of this one. Just when I hear that, I want to travel the world. Are you still 12 years old?
Far away.
Yeah, but I want to travel the world, and I've asked.
Right? I don't know. Just, you're not going to travel the world. How are you going to travel the world? Who's going to sponsor this? How are you going to make the money to travel the world? It's just a little bit unrealistic. I'm quite cynical or pessimistic with this, for sure. But I don't know. Do you agree with me? It's silly. I want to travel the world. Okay, well, and let me guess, you also want to be a princess? Is that right? You want to be a doctor/astronaut as well?
To come with me, and you said no.
Because I don't have the money to go to places like Peru, okay? I'm sorry I don't earn that much, alright?
Are you willing to leave your man behind just because he currently doesn't have money to be part of it?
That's your grandiose plan for me. So you can go off, have some fun, and what? I've got to go find some hot wash job.
Well, no, because I didn't say that, did I? We'd both get a job. What do you think I do when I go off for a month at a time?
You can take pictures and
It's
post
not a
online,
high life.
don't
Yeah, because I earn it.
you? You are so disrespectful. You are so disrespectful.
What is your problem? I don't understand. Look, I can't keep having this argument with you. You knew that I like to go travelling.
Fine. Go travelling, go find some guy whilst you're out there. I don't give a shit anymore.
Usually I travel with my husband and all I do is grab his arm and look for the nearest Starbucks. And I don't pay attention to anything.
And you know what? Also, I think a lot of these girls get their minds hijacked by these female Instagram influencers who romanticize travel and make it look so cool. And then a lot of these women get FOMO and they want to do it too, without realizing who's paying for it, how it's being funded. And again, it always looks so much better online. But I genuinely believe there's a lot of that going on. I've met a couple girls like that in real life, hijacked by this Instagram facade that these influencers put out, romanticizing travel and these fancy pictures with drinks in front of the beach, this type of shit. And these girls buy into it. Hook, line, and sinker. They love it. They all start booking their trips to Bali the next day. Let's keep going.
First time I'm traveling by myself, without my husband. I had to read signs. I got lost twice. And I didn't get any Starbucks. I had to read where I was going. I couldn't watch any TikToks. And I had to be aware of my surroundings.
Here we go.
What is this?
Welcome to adulthood. Having to be aware of my surroundings is the hardest task.
Really?
I just realized I'm the husband, and my husband is the wife.
Yikes.
Same. Now I feel lost when I am without my husband.
I'm confused how two beautiful women can't even get talked to.
Those young ladies must not be on the same sides of TikTok that I am. Because on the sides of TikTok that I get fed, and then every blue moon, every once in a blue moon, I see a video like this, it's like, it's crazy we look this good and no one talked to us at the bar. So guys are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to get called out on TikTok. Now, there's still some men that will do that. They'll still approach a woman, whatever. But sometimes, girls, you just got to do it yourself.
It's all
Yeah, but it looks like these girls here weren't really talking about being approached in a bar. I don't know, maybe in between these clips they are going in and out of bars. But to me it sounds like these girls are just walking and they expect men to just start throwing themselves at them, which is just funny. And then they'll constantly talk about why men aren't approaching women anymore. My take on this is very different than most people, and it's that random men approaching random women has never really been the way that couples meet. Usually there's an environment that facilitates these people to run into each other on more than one occasion, and they become familiar, and then eventually things spark and a relationship forms. But there's this like kind of just hive mind thing going on right now where everybody thinks it's this new idea that random men aren't approaching random women anymore after one encounter, after seeing them once. And to me, looking at the data, that's just never been the case. It's always been, sure, maybe eventually, like they would be technically, they wouldn't know each other, but it would be the fact that they would run into them on multiple occasions, whether it be in the workforce or in the workplace, through friends and family, school. It's never been the case that there's a lot of men approaching random women as they walk into coffee shops or as they walk on the sidewalk. Matter of fact, I would probably make the guess there's more of that going on now, specifically in the early 2000s when there was sort of like a pickup artist boom. But then those guys also got flack. So on one hand, there will be guys who will make cold approaching women a big habit of theirs, and then those guys get shat on by the mainstream media. They start calling them predators and whatnot. And then also the men who don't make it a habit to cold approach a bunch of random women, they also get insulted because men aren't men anymore. And to me, I'm like right there in the middle. I'm like, well, hold on, let me look at the data. Actually, random men approaching random women has never been the norm. It's always been the fact that there are environments that facilitate these two people running into each other on more than one occasion, eventually becoming somewhat familiar, and then perhaps a conversation is sparked.
All right, so I have a date tomorrow, and I'm pretty damn excited for it, not gonna lie. This is the guy that I almost went out with on last Sunday, but he canceled because he was having a hell of a week at work. And I have to say, like, even though we called off that date, he told me he was gonna make it up to me, and he also said that we could text in the meantime. And I was very pleasantly surprised to hear that, because remember I was complaining about this guy saying that his texting was like really boring, where I just felt like I was asking him questions and his responses were really short and he wasn't asking much about me. And so when he said he wanted to text in the meantime before our next date, I was like, oh, I'm happy to hear that, because I got the impression from you that you might not be a big texter. And he's like, no, I'm a yapper. He's like, I just had a hell of a week at work, and that's why I was being shorter than normal. And I have to say, he's a self-proclaimed yapper, and he lived up to it. Like, we've been texting every single day. The majority of the time, he texts me first. And the conversation has been really flirty, really fun. We have some, like, witty banter going back and forth. What else about this guy? He likes whiskey, he has a dog. He's lived in multiple different areas of the United States, which is something that I definitely really like. I would say the only yellow flag about him currently is that since the majority of our texting has been flirty, there were a few things he said that made me wonder, is he just looking for a hookup?
Yes.
And so I directly asked him about it. And I told him that, full disclosure, I'm not looking for anything casual right now. So if you're just looking...
She's doing way too much. You know what, man? I'm thinking in the beginning, she's saying how initially she was having to ask him all the questions. He wasn't coming off as a great texter. He flaked on her. He's sounds like he's making the conversation overtly sexual, because that's really all he's interested in with her. It's not looking good for her. It's not looking good. She's ignoring the signs of the pump and dump. I fear it's inevitable for her.
Hook up. I don't think that's something that I would be interested in. And he sounds like he's very much on the same page as me. He said that he wasn't trying to come across that way, that he just likes being flirty and playful and thinks that that's an important aspect of a connection, but that he said in order for things to progress further and to be intimate with someone, he does want a real connection. And he said that he would prefer to have a long-term partnership.
Yeah, let me ask you this shit. Imagine you're dating this girl, or you're planning to go on a date with her, and one of your buddies, or just somebody, somehow knows this is the girl, and they send you a clip of her, and you just you see her doing this shit on TikTok. You start going through her profile. You see that she was talking shit about you earlier because you're a bad texter or whatever. This would scare me away. I would be like, no, thank you. She's doing too much, honestly. And she's probably a type of woman who has a very difficult time in the dating world for obvious reasons. She's quite heavy. But I would say, honestly, she's just too much. She's coming off as way, way, way too much.
But because he did just move to this area, he also, for his job, he says he'll be here for at least a year, maybe longer. He's open to something short term just because he knows that some people may not be interested in a person who is living here but then might be leaving. But again, the reason it's a yellow flag is because I'm not naive to the fact that people can talk the talk, but can they walk the walk? Like right now he's saying all the right things, but I think the way he acts in person and his actions and behavior in that way will be much more telling. I think I'll be able to get a vibe from him. I would say I'm just really hoping that, for one, we have just as much chemistry in person as we do via text. And we've also done a lot of voice messages too. But then I'm also just hoping that we have a deeper, more human connection too, because you know, we've talked about some serious things via text, but it's been mostly surface level stuff, you know? And so I'm interested to see how that dynamic's going to be in person.
Yeah, it ain't going to work for you. No, you have no hope. It ain't going to work for her, you guys. Listen to her. No. You're doing way too much. You're yapping way too much. I fear you are destined to be alone. I'm sorry, but just listening to her go on and on and on. Can you imagine how she's going to be on a first date where she's nervous? She probably talks a lot when she's nervous. This guy's already trying to make the conversation sexual because that's really all he wants. God damn. And she's just ignoring it. She's ignoring the signs. And this is what I think a lot of women do, is they gaslight themselves. They're like, oh no, the signs, the red flags are there, but I'm going to continue to chase him. And I would imagine that this guy's probably higher in SMV than she is. So it's probably why she's really excited about this, because she thinks he's a catch in her eyes. And he seems like he doesn't feel the same way. But I'm going to leave the video there. So if you made it this far, leave a like and a subscription, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.